Hey everyone, Adam here at Low and Slow Barbecue Supplies again. Hey, this video we're going to look at doing pork cheeks. I've got 4 nice big cheeks here. You can see, you know, the size of a hand, which is a pretty good animal, and then I did have them defrosting overnight, but they need a little bit of encouragement, so kind of give them a water bath, which I know is not ideal, but it is what it is. So I'm just going to step you through the treatment. I've only cooked these once before, and they were excellent, but I did cook them a little bit hot, and I did have quite a few that were small. So all of these I've kind of got a uniform size or pretty close to it, which is really going to help. So with pork cheeks, you kind of treat them more or less like any pulled pork, you know, pulled beef long cook. So we're going to trim them up. There's heaps of fat, so we're going to trim all this fat cap off, get the rub onto the meat, trim them up. We'll get them on the smoker. The weather today is pretty feral, but hopefully we're all good. And we will boat them in some fluid, and then we'll put them back in, do the usual, and then pull them at the end. So kids in the background, so stay with me, and I'm going to video myself trimming up one of these just to give you an idea of what I do. There is heaps of trimming, and then we'll fast forward to the seasoning process. Okay, so we're going to take this whole kind of fat cap off. The skin's already gone, which makes it easier. We've got quite a lot of fat all through here, some weird kind of glandy bits in some of these big flaps. So you can see we've got kind of a seam of meat through here that runs around. There's usually a big chunk of meat here, so I may not video the whole thing because it does take quite some time, and I don't have any kind of real specific method here. Loving this new trimming knife. But you can see there's like a pretty thick layer. I would like to get down to some meat though, just to show you the marbling in these, because they've got a huge amount of fat running through them. It's a good example here. You can see the grains going this way, and there's just fat all the way through it. So you can see through here quite a few grain directions, and through here. So I'm just gonna finish trimming this one up, and the other about 7 or 8 I've got here, and then we'll check out how the finished product looks, and then the seasoning. Okay, so I'll just stop at this point. I've got one done completely, more or less. I mean, you could spend all day trying to trim these up. You can see we don't have a whole lot of it left. If I pull out all the scraps, that's what I cut off. So it's almost kind of like a 50-50 deal. That probably is meat, but so some of the stuff looks kind of random and it was just hanging off. So if in doubt, cut it out. That's kind of my philosophy. Don't want to risk eating something nasty or your guest eating something nasty. I will show you later. What I'm going to do is cook down, put all the scraps in here and cook down or render down this fat, and drain them off and store that for cooking and other such purposes. So anyway, I'm going to keep going on this. This fat is really nasty, sticky pork fat, so you want to make sure you're using a good knife and a very sharp knife. Keep sharpening it often. I'll probably resharpen this maybe a couple of times, trimming these all down. You will cut yourself doing this if you're not using a sharp knife, because you'll just have to use too much pressure, and this fat is just super thick and gooey and very soft, and your hands become super slippery. It'd be nice actually to have some kind of like butcher's glove or something. But anyway, I'm going to keep rolling with this, and then we'll season them up. Okay, so we've got these all trimmed up. About an hour later. It's really hard going, but as you can see, it's definitely not a perfect job. But with that, I'm going to split these into 2 chunks, and I'm going to do, as I usually do some adult spec ones and some kid spec ones. So these 3 here, actually I'll swap that one over there, give the adults a big one. For the kids, I'm going to go with the Myron Mix and Original Rub, which is just kind of a straight down the middle, a little bit of salt, a little bit of sweet, tiny bit of heat, you know, just a straight down the middle barbecue rub. And then for the adults, I'm going to go with a mixture of Heaven's Made seasoning. It's incredible, which is like an AP, but kind of a garlic prominent AP. And then their smoky jalapeno, which is really, really nice. kind of hard to describe, but kind of like a smoky, spicy, yeah, real rich, yeah, really nice rub. One to have a play with. You'll find it on the website. So anyway, I'm going to rub these down. The pork is, the fat is so sticky that definitely don't need any kind of binder action. I'm not going to video all of this. You've all seen people sprinkle rub on meat, so you'll get the idea. So I'm going to season these all up, and then I'm going to fire up the Smoky Mountain, and I'm going to go for a longer, lower cook this time. You can see they're, when trimmed, they're actually quite thin. So if we cook too hot, we're going to end up in trouble, and they do have to cook long to render out all the fat. So yeah, we're not going to cook too hot, but we'll cook long. And yeah, we'll come back in a little bit and check on progress. In the meantime, you might have heard it bubbling away in the last video. I've got all of the trimmings in here. And what I'm going to do, I've just got that on the low heat, just simmering away, and all of that fat is going to render out. And so the level of this will just slowly drop. And I don't know, it might take an hour, half an hour, we'll find out. We'll end up with hopefully a big pot of pork fat, which we'll pour into jars and use for cooking. I've got, I didn't show it because I did it afterwards, but the Snake River Farms brisket in a couple of videos ago, I did the same thing, and so that is 2 jars. That's basically all the fat from the trimming. So when we're cooking, we can just dig our spoon into there and throw that straight into a hot frying pan. Obviously it'll melt pretty quick. That's just a cool way of trying to use everything, so kind of less wastage, but cooking with pure Wagyu fat is pretty cool too. So anyway, we'll keep moving. So just thought I'd show you how I do my charcoal. I follow Harry Sue's method, which is one that he preaches about having the wood chunks in the bottom. And the theory behind that is that the temperature required to get kind of a proper smolder on wood is not particularly high, and if you've got your wood chunks at the top where all the heat is, they actually burn too hot and you don't get the full effect, for lack of a better term, of the smoke or of the wood flavor. So always in the bottom, so that you get a better smolder and a longer cook, or a longer smoke. So I've got that stacked. I used a commodities lump. You can see some of the stuff is yeah, is super big. And then I also use their logs. So these logs have a much longer burn time. They're a compressed wood charcoal log. So they're very dense. So the lump kind of gets things going, and then these logs are what hold the heat. And this setup here, cooking at 225, I'll probably be able to get between 8 or 10 hours out of, maybe longer. So yeah, without having to reload. So we'll get this fired up and get the temp stabilized and get the chicks on there. Okay, so the smoke is slowly coming up to temp, but I'm being impatient, so I'm going to get these bad boys on there. So we've got some smoke rolling, so let's lay these out. The outside of the Smoky Mountain does have a hot spot. Obviously there's you can't quite tell, there's a deflector bowl there which I filled with sand, but the heat comes around the edge, so if you've got anything too close to the edge, it ends up getting a little bit torched. Now it doesn't look like I'm maybe going to fit all this on, so I'm going to have to put some stuff down the bottom. I was a little bit haphazard with the seasoning, so apologies. But I'm not sure I really want to use stuff down the bottom, so I might just jam these all up. One way or another we'll get them all on there. Obviously they're going to shrink up pretty good when they start cooking, so I'll finish loading those on and get the lid on, and then we'll check back in a couple of hours and see what the progress looks like. So we're about an hour and a half, hour and 3/4 maybe in. You can see they've tightened up nicely, starting to get some good colour. We'll yeah, keep on rolling. Got a few hours to go, but they're starting to look pretty good. So about another hour later, you can see things are darkening up nicely. Just going to give the rubber test. That one's pretty good. So rubs kind of set pretty well. Yeah, set pretty well actually. So I actually need to think about what I'm going to do wrapping. I'm a little bit unorganized for this cook, so I'll make a boat out of some tin foil, but I have to see what kind of liquid. I'd usually use pineapple juice or apple juice, but we may just have to go with some stock or make up a concoction. So go and have a look in the fridge. Have a look in the fridge of the extended family next door. We kind of live in a big one big house that's split up into like 3 houses, so see if I can raid some fridges and come up with a concoction to put in as a wrap. Okay, so I managed to find some passion fruit puree, which is kind of like a dessert topping, and what I've done is chuck that on the stove and mix with some water. I'm just heating it up. It's never ideal to add, like refrigerated or, cold liquid to your meat when you're wrapping, because obviously that kind of kills the cooking process. So with pork, you can't really go wrong with sweet. So a little passion fruit will go nice. So I've got a bunch of sheets, so I've ripped off, so I'll do double wraps. We'll get all the kids in one, adults in another. If you haven't got this tin foil, I don't know how you're getting by, because regular tin foil is hopeless for doing low and slow. So if you don't have this stuff, get some. But anyway, we'll get the cheeks inside, we'll get them wrapped up, add some of this passion fruit liquid and get them back on the smoker. Okay, so we've got everything off here. It's going to be hard to show on camera, but these already feel quite spongy, so we had a good amount of render of all that fat already, which was good. The aroma from these, the adult selection with that smoky jalapeno, like it's a real noticeable aroma even at this stage in the cook. So pretty excited about what those are going to taste like. So anyway, I'll try and video this, but it might be a little bit tricky. I'm just going to place them in the tin foil, on the tin foil rather. I'm going to kind of fold the edges around. I think this is going to be a bit impossible holding onto the camera, but you'll get the idea. And I'm going to pour some of this concoction over it. You can see we didn't really lose any rub, which is why it's so important to not do this until the bark is set, so that when you add this liquid, the rub doesn't just fall off. So I'm going to get this folded up, which I for sure can't do holding the camera, and obviously I'll follow the same process with the other ones left on the board, and we'll get it all back on the smoker. So I've actually got these in the oven now just to save on fuel. When we are done with the smoke, we just need heat. So just going to use the fork, just give them a bit of a feel. You really can't overcook these, there's so much fat. I'm feeling pretty good. A bit like shorties though, when they start probing well, I'm kind of inclined to then let them run a little bit longer again, just to make sure that every last bit of fat is rendered. So I think we'll probably just keep them rolling a bit longer. I'll check the kids ones here. That fork twisting, not too bad, but it's certainly not super easy. So I think we'll just keep them rolling. I've got the Pure Q here, just give it a bit of a reading just to see where we're at. So we are in the kind of in the right zone here, but temp is far less important than what's actually going on with the meat. So anyway, we'll get this wrapped back up, chuck it back in the oven, and I'm picking probably we need another 45 minutes or an hour perhaps. So good thing about these is because it's a reasonably small piece of meat, the resting time isn't particularly long or as important. So once they're done, we can let them sit for, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 minutes or something and get stuck into it. had it in another about 45 minutes. Just been having a little bit of play. Just a little bit of pressure and it's starting to fall apart. I think it's this kind of thing where really you could just keep going and going. There's still, not sure how well this will get picked up here, but you can see the fat here. I mean, you could just keep rendering and rendering and rendering and rendering. This evening, the kids have already eaten and we're going to chuck them in bed first before the adults are going to eat. So I think I'm going to let it keep riding. You can see we've still got plenty of moisture there, so we're not kind of running out of moisture in here. So I think we'll just keep letting it roll. I started these, I think these went on at midday. I was way behind schedule, so the kids have had something else. So here's a similar state. You can see we're pretty tender, but again, there's still so much fat in these that if we can just keep it rendering, I think that'd be good. Although there's definitely doing better. They were the smaller ones, so I think we'll just keep it rolling. Again, still plenty of moisture in there. You could, if you needed to eat now, definitely take them out. Finish them up, call them good. But I think they're just going to get better and better the more we render out. I might even bump the temp up. I've got the oven at 145 Celsius, which is that's close to 300, I think. But anyway, we'll keep on rolling. Okay, another 45 minutes or so later. Definitely getting softer. Again, like I mentioned, I think you could just keep going and going. But I think this is where we're going to stop because we're hungry. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of let that vent to stop the cooking process, and then once we've kind of got no more steam coming out, which won't take super long, and I'll turn the oven off. I'll just chuck them back in the oven wrapped up again just to rest. Yeah, 10-15 minutes or so. And then we'll get out some forks and pull it and see if it tastes any good after all this time. So just got stuck in with a couple of forks here. It's pulled pretty good. Reckon I could have gone longer, but it's about 9 o'clock and it's time to eat. So might try a bit of a crusty bit with some bark. Just around, so I'll give this a bit of a taste. Really, really strong pork flavour on that bit. That's a bit of the cheeks is kind of like this round, a bit of like a dense piece of meat that's not part of the fat. So if I zoom in, you can see it's quite lean, so that bit's a little bit tougher than some of the others, but I'll grab a bit of what you'd expect to be traditionally pulled meat and give this a whirl. Totally different experience right there. So super moist, laid back flavour, smoky jalapeno rubs coming through, getting a hint of the passion fruit. You can see we've still got some of that in there, so when I pull this, I'm going to transfer it into a bowl just to finish it off. I'll mix that through because I think that adds something. But yeah, definitely worth the effort. I'm just going to have one more bit. Yeah, those two rubs work really nicely. The garlic from that incredible seasoning coming through. The smoky jalapeno, not too spicy. Don't be afraid of this one. It just adds a nice little hint of that kind of smoky spiciness, as you'd expect. But yeah, not something that's going to set your tongue on fire. Even honestly, I think kids would be fine with it too. So I'm going to finish up dealing with this, and I'll deal with the kids one, which I'll obviously they're in bed. We'll chuck that in the vacuum sealer. They can have that another day. Adults can have a little bit of a feast on this. And yeah, so hey, thanks for watching. If you've done pork cheeks, if you've done them a different way, or saw something I could have done differently, please let me know.
If you haven't done these, ask your butcher to get some for you. They typically order these in cases to use for sausage, just because of the fat content. They go great on sausages, but they definitely are worth cooking on their own. So yeah, go into your local butcher. I got these from Aussie Butcher Cumu from Matt. Obviously Reuben, a lot of guys get your meat from Reuben. I'm sure he'll be able to look after you too. I think Andrew was at it in Botany in terms of the Aussie Butcher crowd that I'm aware of. But yeah, your local butcher will have access to these, I'm sure, whether it's butchering them on site or ordering them from a wholesaler. So hit them up, get them to sort it. Happy smoking as always. If you've got any questions, fire away. We'd love to hear from you. Take it easy and we'll catch you on the next video. Cheers.